when working with children and families, what were your expectations coming into the field, and in reality of the job, what was different, if it was?
I think that one of the things that's been the most different for me is seeing how my family experience and my upbringing is so different from the ones that I see on a daily basis. And if I think parts and times of my life were difficult, and then I think, well, what would that have looked like if I didn't have my mom and my dad supporting me? What if I was on my own at 7 or 18 and moved out and had already had a child? It would just be such a different way of living and experiencing life, and so many different obstacles that I didn't have to go through because so many things were provided for me. So I guess I don't know if it was just surprising. It's just difficult when you watch basically kids who have to act like adults because they're already put in that environment at such a young age.
Awesome. That sounds good. Could you describe any special skills needed for this field?
Well, I think one of the main skills is having some patience. You're
Patience.
definitely going to need patience to work with kids on a daily basis. Um, Particularly because oftentimes it's the same issue, and so we're discussing, why anger continues to be an issue or why truancy continues to be an issue, and um, yeah.
Um, then when you work here at the high school, when counseling students, what would you say is the most common concern for the students?
I'd say there's a couple of things. A lot of times when a young female comes in and she's upset, she's usually upset because she either had a negative interaction with a peer, she got in a fight or an argument with one of her friends, or her other main concern would be that she thinks she could be pregnant at this time. And so it's kind of going through resources and talking to her about finding out the next steps.
And what about male students? Is there like
For male students, I would say a lot of times it's anger. They're angry about a situation that happened, and they're trying to think of another outcome, another way to behave other than just fighting over it. And another common one for our males is truancy, skipping classes and just finding other things to do with their time than go to class.
awesome? And since you worked at the Bear Foundation, what was your role as a social worker there?
At the Bear Foundation, I was a case manager. So what I had is I had probably like 5 to 10 different families, and they would be all over Central Texas. And I would drive out to their homes and check on the kids, all the foster kids in the home, meet with them individually, ask them if they felt safe, if they felt comfortable, what their behavior and needs were, and then I would support the foster parents in helping the students. Um, and there were times too that I met with their biological children because they wanted attention, they wanted to feel special like the foster child that I met with individually. So I might meet with their son or daughter individually just to give them some of that one-on-one attention. And with the kids in foster care, it's similar to how it is in the high school, some of the same problems and obstacles, but it's very different too because you know for sure they were taken out of their home environment, and so you know that a lot of those basic sense of comfortability and stuff has been taken out. So
Definitely. And next question: have you worked with abused children before? Personally?
definitely the kids in foster care, I mean, every single one of them would be removed for physical or neglectful abuse. But in the high schools, we often also see a lot of students who are abused. At this point, a lot of the kids that tell us they were abused when they were younger, and so they're about the age of 17 or 18. So we still call it into the hotline, but a lot of times CPS isn't going to do much because they see that they're over age, and at the point of 18, they're not really going to do anything as far as removing a kid, putting them in a safer environment because they could actually move out on their own, live in an apartment. And as hard as that is for a high school senior, that's what some of our students choose to do, move out on if they've suppressed it. So.
And um, when, or in your opinion, when people take on cases of child abuse, do you think as a social worker, do they do more than just refer different services to the families, or do they have like a different role in that kind of area as a social worker?
I definitely definitely think in social work, I mean, based on your skills and knowledge in the area, you do more than refer kids out. Especially in when I was at the Bear Foundation, I would meet with the students individually one on one. And generally at the beginning, it was developing that rapport with the student, trying to get them to trust you or
Mm-hmm.
find someone, whether it was a therapist or someone, their foster parent that they could trust. And at the beginning stage, you're just starting to get the story and get an understanding, and also report bits of the story that maybe haven't been reported before to CPS so that they have that in their records.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you can kind of go about therapeutically helping the child again build trust with adults and understand that everyone's not going to act the same way that maybe their parents or whoever took care of them reacted towards them. And then helping the students get into therapy or individual counseling, group counseling.
Mm-hmm.
I really encourage them to do that when I can. And then just being an example that the student can trust, knowing that, okay, these are my boundaries. Like this, if you share this with me, I will keep it, confidential.
Mm-hmm.
But then the confidentiality of sharing with authorities or whoever you need to if the child is being abused or hurting somebody else. And making sure that the students are clear about what you need to share and what you're going to keep personal so that they can trust
Mm-hmm.
you and know what boundaries are.
That makes sense. And last question. What do you think is your biggest role as a social worker in the Child and Family Services Department? As a social worker, not in the specific personal, but just as a social worker in general, what do you think is the biggest role?
Um, Biggest role as far as like importance to the kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think probably the biggest role is um, probably just listening to the kids and being a constant encouragement to them as much as
Mm-hmm.
I can. I think that's really what's going to go the furthest with them is helping them, if they're failing a class, bring it to their attention and then encourage them in ways that they can move forward to bring that grade up or encourage them in truancy or to
Mm-hmm.
seek help
Mm-hmm.
for drug use. I mean, really just being a listening ear and in a professional manner listening and responding appropriately, I think.
Responding well. Awesome. Well, thank you very
Of
much.
course.